She had a clot in a delicate place. Only a human medic could treat her. He had never thought a human would be in this corner of the galaxy treating an alien patient, but here he was, far from Earth in the heart of the Valian sector. His patient, a Valian diplomat named Lurine, lay on the medical table. Her skin shimmered faintly, shifting colors like sunlight on water, a natural sign of Valian health or discomfort. Today, her colors flickered nervously between deep violet and muted silver, signaling pain. The Valians had never allowed humans to treat them before. Their physiology was intricate, layered with veins and nerve bundles that defied most medical technology. Yet, it was a clot in a delicate area, a place even the most skilled Valian medics avoided. Only a human medic, known for precision and steadiness, could attempt this delicate procedure. Elias took a deep breath, recalling his training in human surgical techniques. The galaxy had expanded human medicine in ways no Valian had considered. He had studied their anatomy for months, understanding the fluidity of their internal networks, the way their circulatory system mirrored a river delta, and the sensitivity of their nerve clusters. One wrong move could end Lurine's life, but hesitation was more dangerous. The clot would grow, spreading toxins that could disable her entirely. He glanced at the door as it hissed open. Lieutenant Sorin, the ship's communications officer, entered, her usual bright demeanor dimmed by concern. "Doctor," she said softly, "the council sent another message. They're asking if you're ready." "I'm ready," Elias replied, not looking up. "I've never been more ready. This isn't just about medicine, it's about trust. If I fail, humans may never be allowed near Valian patients again." Sorin stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Do you ever think about why they chose you?" Elias paused, scanning the monitors. "I think it's because humans don't overthink. We act with what we know works. That's what they need right now, someone who won't hesitate." The medbay doors slid shut, sealing them in a bubble of light and controlled air pressure. Elias activated the table, adjusting its height to match the contours of Lurine's body. Her eyes, large and luminous, studied him closely. She did not speak. Valians often communicated emotions through color shifts and subtle movements. A flicker of deep indigo told him she was anxious but trusting. Elias set his instruments carefully. They were simple by human standards, scalpels, microscanners, tiny clamps, but they were precise. The human hand could perform subtle movements no Valian device could match. He placed a small stabilizer over her rib cage, designed to reduce involuntary muscle movement. Lurine's skin shifted to a soft silver, almost like she was trying to calm herself, signaling her awareness of the procedure. He began by mapping the clot's exact location with the microscanner. The results displayed on the monitor, a dense, irregular shape pulsating in rhythm with her heart-like organ. He swallowed hard. Precision would be everything. One misstep could rupture a major vein or nerve cluster. "Doctor," Sorin's voice broke the silence, "are you sure the tools will hold?" The council seemed skeptical. Elias nodded, focusing on the monitor. "The tools hold, I hold, that's what matters." He paused, watching the color shift in Lurine's skin. "She trusts us." "That's more than half the battle." The room fell silent again, save for the steady hum of machinery and the faint thrum of Lurine's internal systems, audible through the sensors. Elias' fingers moved over the controls with practiced ease, aligning the instruments, calibrating the microscanner, and preparing the miniature laser scalpel for initial incision. He glanced at Lurine once more. Her gaze met his, luminous eyes filled with unspoken questions. Humans could never fully understand Valian thought patterns, but he had learned that focus and calm presence transcended species. "We'll get through this," he whispered. Not that she could understand the words in his language, but intent carried meaning. The first cut was the most critical. He inhaled, steadying his hand. The scalpel moved like a shadow across her skin, leaving a barely visible mark. Lurine flinched, but her color shifted only slightly, a sign that she trusted him enough to endure pain. Elias adjusted the angle, careful to avoid a thin bundle of nerves that ran along the surface. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The medbay was filled with the sound of the microscanner, the whir of the laser, and the occasional soft beep from the monitoring systems. Elias worked methodically, mapping, cutting, and carefully moving tissue aside. Every movement was deliberate, measured, precise. Finally, he reached the clot. It was larger than the scans had suggested, dense and irregular. He paused, wiping sweat from his brow. This moment defined everything. He had practiced for this, imagined it countless times, but now, facing it in reality, the responsibility weighed heavier than any training. Elias adjusted the clamps, isolating the clot from surrounding vessels. Lurine's color shifted to a deep violet, almost a silent plea for him to be careful. He nodded, as if she could see the gesture, and began the extraction. Tiny motions, steady hands, guided by the human instinct for delicate surgery, pulled the clot free. A sigh of relief escaped him when the extraction was complete. He immediately applied a healing agent to the site, a human innovation designed to accelerate tissue repair and prevent clot recurrence. The microscanner confirmed success. Blood flow was restored, the toxin markers dropping rapidly. Lurine's skin shifted through a spectrum of colors, pale blue to green to silver, signaling relief and gratitude. Elias exhaled deeply, allowing himself a rare moment of pride. He had done it. A human had saved a Valian life where others could not. Soren stepped closer, eyes wide. "Doctor, you did it." Elias nodded, but he didn't look at her. His gaze stayed on Lurine. She was breathing steadily, her color now a calm, soft silver. The trust placed in him had not been betrayed. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. Lurine's eyes met his again, and for the first time he thought he saw a flicker of something beyond relief, recognition, perhaps, or connection. Communication beyond language. The medbay doors opened, and the council's emissaries arrived, their faces unreadable. Elias knew this moment would define human-Valian relations for years. He had proven capability, yes, but more importantly, he had shown respect, patience, and steady hands where others hesitated. One of the emissaries stepped forward, a tall figure with deep indigo skin and long, flowing tendrils along their head. "Dr. Harrington," the voice resonated in the medbay, a sound that echoed in both thought and tone. "You have done what we thought impossible. You have our gratitude and our cautious trust." Elias nodded, not daring to celebrate too loudly. Trust was fragile, more delicate than any vessel or tissue. But as he observed Lurine resting peacefully, he allowed himself the thought that humans could be more than mere explorers or traders. They could be healers, bridging worlds through action rather than words. For now, the medbay was quiet, save for the soft hum of machinery. Outside, the stars streaked past the viewport, and the galaxy waited. And somewhere deep in its expanse, Elias Harrington knew that one human act could change the course of relations for an entire species. The soft silver glow of Lurine's skin had stabilized, a clear sign her vital systems were returning to normal. "Doctor." Elias Harrington remained by her side, monitoring the readings with a careful eye. He had been awake for almost 20 hours, but adrenaline and focus kept fatigue at bay. The medbay, once tense with anticipation, now felt like a small island of calm in a galaxy that rarely allowed such peace. Despite the success of the procedure, Elias knew the true challenge had only just begun. Healing a Valian wasn't like healing a human. Their bodies were far more sensitive to environmental shifts, to emotional stress, and to chemical balances that humans often overlooked. One wrong adjustment in medication or nutrient intake could undo all of his work. Soren leaned against the wall, folding her arms and watching Elias move. "How do you feel?" she asked, her voice soft. It was not the question of a colleague, but of someone who had witnessed a miracle, or at least something close to it. I feel cautious, Elias admitted. The clot is gone, but that doesn't mean everything is perfect. Valians are tricky. Their bodies can react days later in ways we don't always predict. Soren nodded, understanding more than she let on. She had been through medical emergencies before, but nothing like this. She glanced at Lurine, lying still but shifting slightly in her sleep. You really think humans can handle their biology better than their own? Elias didn't answer immediately. He continued checking the monitors, watching the rhythm of Lurine's blood flow. Not better, he finally said. Different. Humans rely on tools, precision, and practice under pressure. Valians, they rely more on instinct and tradition. They're cautious, but sometimes caution can't solve a problem fast enough. Lurine stirred slightly, a faint hum resonating in her throat, a Valian sign of recognition. Elias approached her gently, careful not to startle her. He placed a hand near her shoulder, not touching but close enough to provide reassurance. Her colors shifted slowly, a gradient from pale silver to soft green. Trust was still there, and it would take hours to know if it had fully taken root. As he worked, the council emissaries remained in the medbay, observing silently. Their expressions were unreadable, but their presence carried weight. Every human action was scrutinized, every gesture analyzed. Elias had expected this, and it did not bother him. He was used to working under pressure. The difference now was that failure was not just personal. It could ripple across species and political alliances. After several minutes of careful observation, Elias allowed himself a moment to speak. She's stable. Her vitals are strong and the clot is gone. But I need to monitor her closely for the next 24 hours. Even the smallest shock or stress could cause complications. One of the emissaries, a tall figure named Veles, stepped forward. His tendrils shimmered with deep indigo. You speak with confidence, human. Confidence is rare among our healers. Your species seems to act first, observe second. Elias smiled faintly. Sometimes action saves more than hesitation. Veles regarded him for a long moment, then inclined his head slightly. Perhaps. For now, we will observe. But know this, the council will want to see results, not just survival but recovery. Soren frowned, sensing Elias' tension. Doctor, do you want me to take over monitoring for a bit? You've been at this since the alarm went off. Elias shook his head. No, I need to do this myself. Lurine's body reacts to subtle changes that only I can interpret. It's not about fatigue, it's about understanding her system intimately. The hours passed slowly. Elias rotated between checking sensors, adjusting environmental controls, and manually tracking nutrient levels in Lurine's body. The medbay lights dimmed slightly, simulating a soft night for her, as her species responded well to circadian-like rhythms even in artificial environments. By mid-cycle, Lurine had opened her eyes. They glowed faintly with the usual Valian luminescence, and she looked around the room, her gaze finally settling on Elias. The connection was subtle but undeniable. She had recognized him as the one who had intervened, the one who had dared where others would not. Dr. Soren whispered, leaning close. She's looking at you. I think she knows you saved her. Elias remained calm, though inside he felt a surge of relief. It doesn't matter if she knows, Soren. What matters is that her body knows. That's the language that counts. Veli stepped closer to Lurine's side. Your patient is aware, he said softly. Human intervention is unusual. Perhaps it is fortunate. Elias did not respond immediately. He focused on measuring subtle shifts in her nerve activity. Her body was stabilizing, but he noticed tiny fluctuations in heart-like rhythms, nothing dangerous yet but signs of stress. He adjusted the environmental temperature slightly, and the fluctuations eased. Soren leaned in again. Doctor, why do they let you do this? You're human, and they've always trusted their own species first. Elias exhaled slowly. Because humans see what others don't, we focus on what works. Their own healers avoided this clot because it was risky. I don't avoid risk. I calculated and I act. That's why I'm here. Veles inclined his head once more. Risk is understood, but caution is wisdom. You have merged the two, human. Perhaps this is why trust is being granted. As the evening shifted to simulated night, the medbay remained quiet but vigilant. Elia stayed by Lurin's side, reading her colors, noting her breathing, and ensuring the circulation remained steady. Occasionally, he adjusted tiny flows of synthetic fluids designed to mimic Valian blood properties. Each adjustment required a careful balance, as any miscalculation could trigger discomfort or worse. Hours passed. The tension in the room gradually eased as Lurin's body responded positively. Her skin color stabilized into a soft, serene silver, signaling contentment and minimal pain. Elias allowed himself a small smile. "This is good," he whispered to Soren, who nodded silently. But as he monitored her vitals, he noticed something unusual. A small, irregular pattern in the flow of her secondary circulatory network, a minor clot forming at a different site. It was faint, almost negligible, but in a Valian body, even small clots could escalate quickly. Elias frowned. He had succeeded once, but the work was not over. "Doctor," Soren asked, noticing his concern, "what is it?" He explained carefully. "It's minor, but it's forming elsewhere. Not immediately dangerous, but if we ignore it, it could worsen overnight." Veli stepped closer, his expression unreadable. "Are you certain this is normal, or is it a reaction to your procedure?" Elias shook his head. "It's not a reaction. Her body is simply responding to the stress of surgery and the previous clot. It's natural. We can manage it with observation and minor intervention." The emissaries exchanged silent signals, their tendrils shifting as they communicated silently. Finally, Veli spoke. "Very well, your methods are unorthodox, human, but results speak. Continue." Elias nodded. He adjusted the microscanner and set up a gentle system of fluid circulation to prevent further clot formation. Each step was measured, careful, precise. He knew that patience was as vital as skill. Night passed slowly, and by early morning, Lurin had stabilized further. Her secondary clot had not progressed, and her overall condition improved steadily. The council emissaries allowed a rare moment of privacy as they retreated, trusting Elias to maintain control. Soren exhaled, stretching her tired muscles. "You did it again." "I don't know how you do it, Doctor. I've never seen anyone stay this calm under so much pressure." Elias allowed himself a faint laugh. "I'm calm because there is no other choice. Panic solves nothing, especially here. We observe, we act, we adjust. That's what humans do best." Lurin stirred, her eyes meeting his once more. There was a flicker of something new, a subtle glow that suggested awareness, perhaps gratitude. Elias understood that in Valian terms, this was far more meaningful than words. Connection was the currency of trust, and it had been earned. By mid-morning, Elias allowed himself a brief break. He stepped outside the medbay, looking out at the galaxy streaking past the viewport. Stars and distant planets glimmered like jewels in the void. The hum of the engines beneath the ship reminded him that life moved forward, relentless and constant. He thought about the Valians, their reliance on tradition, and the fragile trust he now held. One human action, precision, courage, and care, had bridged a gap that many thought insurmountable. But he knew it was only the beginning. Healing was one step. Maintaining trust, proving humanity's value across species, and facing future challenges, that would be the true test. Returning to the medbay, he found Lurin awake, shifting slightly to face him. Her colors were soft, serene, signaling calm and trust. Elias approached carefully, mindful of her reactions, and began monitoring her vitals again. The day stretched ahead, filled with careful observation, minor interventions, and the quiet work of maintaining recovery. As the hours passed, it became clear that Lurin's condition was improving steadily. The secondary clot remained stable, and her overall vitality was strong. Elias allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. He had not only treated the Valian, but he had also proven the capability of human medicine in ways that words alone could not express. By late afternoon, Veles returned. His tendrils glimmered faintly, and his voice carried a tone of approval. "Dr. Harrington, your skill is remarkable. Lurine's recovery is progressing beyond expectations. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new understanding between our peoples." Elias nodded, focusing on the monitors rather than words. Actions spoke louder than promises. Trust was fragile, but it had been earned, and it would take more than time to break it. For now, the medbay remained a quiet sanctuary of healing and observation. Outside, the galaxy moved on, indifferent yet magnificent. Inside, Elias Harrington understood the value of one human hand, steady under pressure, shaping the fate of both life and diplomacy in ways that no weapon or negotiation ever could. The medbay remained quiet, yet Elias Harrington sensed an undercurrent of tension. Lurine's color, which had stabilized into a soft, trusting silver, now flickered subtly, brief flashes of pale violet running through her skin. It was not a sign of pain, but of unease. Elias leaned over her monitors, adjusting the sensors for closer tracking. The human mind was trained to detect patterns, and even the smallest anomaly could signal a problem before it became critical. "Doctor," Soren whispered from across the room, her eyes narrowing at the readings. "Her colors, they're changing. It's not a full alarm, but it's unusual. What does it mean?" Elias didn't immediately answer. He studied the data, watching the rhythmic pulses of her secondary circulatory system. There was a subtle fluctuation, almost imperceptible, but enough to warrant attention. "It's minor," he finally said, "but it could indicate a developing stress response. I need to observe closely and adjust her care." Veles and the other council emissaries hovered at the edge of the room, silent yet present. Their tendrils shimmered with muted tones, signaling their concern. They had seen the initial procedure succeed, but now they were witnessing the complexities of post-operative recovery, a stage that required patience, skill, and understanding beyond mere tools. Elias activated a low-frequency stimulator, designed to soothe Valian neural pathways that were stressed by surgery. He had learned that Valian bodies often reacted to minor trauma with nerve impulses that humans might overlook, and he adjusted the stimulator carefully, just enough to calm her internal responses without overwhelming them. Slowly, Lurine's colors shifted to a steady silver again. "Better?" Soren asked softly, leaning close to him. "Yes," Elias said, though he remained tense. "For now, but we must remain vigilant. Valian systems are more resilient than humans, but they are also far more sensitive to subtle imbalances." Hours passed with meticulous monitoring. Elias adjusted the synthetic fluid composition to match the Valian's natural balance, ensuring her body received the precise ions and nutrients it needed. Soren assisted, handing him instruments and noting shifts in her skin color. Their teamwork was quiet but seamless, each action guided by observation and experience rather than words. Midway through the recovery period, a sudden spike appeared in Lurine's neural readings. Her colors flared, violet and deep green flashing in quick succession. Elias froze for a moment, analyzing the data. "Secondary clot activity," he murmured. "It's small but accelerating." Soren's eyes widened. "Is she in danger?" "Yes," Elias said calmly, though his heart beat faster than he admitted. "If it continues unchecked, it could trigger a cascade affecting her primary systems. I need to intervene carefully." Veli stepped closer, his tendrils shimmering a deep indigo. "Is this your fault, human? Did your procedure cause this?" Elias shook his head. "No. Her body is responding naturally. It's a secondary reaction, not a complication caused by surgery. But it needs human precision to manage. Valian methods alone would be too slow." The emissaries exchanged quiet signals, clearly debating the situation. Veles finally nodded. "We trust your judgment. Act." Elias worked quickly, calibrating a microlaser device designed to dissolve small clots without harming surrounding tissue. He had used it in training simulations, but never on a Valian. The stakes were far higher here. He inhaled deeply, steadying his hands. Lurien's eyes opened, her gaze meeting his once more. Her colors flickered nervously, signaling fear. Elias placed a hand near her shoulder, not touching but close enough to convey calm intent. He had learned that presence alone could soothe a Valian patient, bridging the gap between species without words. The first adjustment was delicate. Tiny pulses of the laser dissolved the clot's outer layer while Elias monitored her neural responses in real time. Each pulse was measured, precise, and deliberate. Soren adjusted sensors and stabilizers, ensuring that no unintended pressure or heat reached her delicate tissues. Minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity. The spike in neural activity began to subside, Lurien's colors gradually returning to silver. Elias exhaled silently. The immediate danger had passed, but he knew the next hours would be critical. Veles observed closely. "Your actions are precise, human. We did not think such intervention possible. She is stabilizing." Elias nodded, focusing on her monitoring data rather than praise. "She's not fully stable yet. We need to continue observation, adjust fluids and neural support, and prevent recurrence." It's delicate work but manageable. As the day progressed, Lurien's body responded well to the ongoing care. The secondary clot remained under control, and her neural activity normalized. Elias adjusted the environmental conditions slightly, temperature, lighting, air composition, to maintain optimal recovery. The medbay, once tense with life-or-death urgency, became a quiet chamber of careful balance and gentle observation. Soren, exhausted but vigilant, whispered, "Doctor, do you think she'll recover fully?" Elias glanced at Lurien, who lay quietly, her colors steady, breathing calm and measured. "Yes," he said softly, "she will." Humans have a way of acting in moments when hesitation could cost lives. That's our strength: precision, patience, and courage. It's why we were able to save her once, and why we'll continue to ensure her full recovery. Veli stepped forward, his tone carrying both caution and approval. "Your methods are unconventional, yet effective. You have earned not only trust, human, but respect. Recovery is progressing under your guidance, beyond what our own healers might have managed." Elias allowed a small nod. Praise from the council was rare and measured, but he knew actions carried more weight than words. What mattered was the patient, the life he had been entrusted to protect. By evening, Lurien had opened her eyes fully, her skin glowing softly, a sign of renewed vitality. She shifted slightly, responding to the environment, and Elias adjusted her stabilizers gently. Her gaze met his, and for the first time he felt a faint sense of understanding beyond mere biology, a connection. Soren whispered, amazed, She seems almost aware of you in a way that goes beyond gratitude." Elias studied the subtle shifts in her skin color, the slight movements of her body. "She recognizes that we saved her life," he said. "Recognition in Valian terms isn't just gratitude. It's acknowledgement of intent, skill, and trust. It's deeper than any words." The medbay doors opened quietly, and a new set of council observers entered. They were younger, curious, and cautious, studying the scene with a mixture of skepticism and awe. One of them, a female emissary with iridescent tendrils, asked in soft tones, "Dr. Harrington, is she fully stable now?" Elias checked her vitals one last time for the day. "Stable for now," he said. "We'll continue monitoring tonight." Her systems are strong, her secondary clot controlled, and her neural activity normal. She's recovering, but ongoing care is essential. Veles inclined his head. "Your work will be documented. Future human medics may learn from your methods. This may be the beginning of collaboration that was once unimaginable." Elias nodded, careful not to let pride overtake focus. Collaboration was fragile, like trust. It had to be maintained with care, respect, and skill. One misstep could undo everything. As the council observers left, the medbay returned to quiet. Elias monitored Lurine through the night, adjusting fluids, watching her colors, and ensuring her body remained stable. Soren stayed close, assisting silently, aware that the smallest distraction could be critical. In the late hours, a subtle change occurred. Lurine's skin shifted, not violently, but in a way that suggested thought and curiosity. She extended a tendril slightly, moving it toward Elias, a gesture of recognition, perhaps even acceptance. Elias leaned closer, understanding the meaning without words. Trust had been built, and the bridge between species had begun to solidify. By the early morning, Lurine's body had adjusted fully to the care provided. The secondary clot had dissolved completely, and her systems were functioning smoothly. Elias allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. Humans had acted where hesitation could have cost a life. His steady hands, careful calculation, and calm judgment had achieved what many thought impossible. Soren, exhausted but smiling faintly, said, "Doctor, I don't know how you do it. You saved her, controlled complications, and kept her calm. It's incredible." Elias shook his head slightly, still focused on the monitors. "It's not about me, Soren. It's about understanding, observation, and action. Every species has its limits. Humans have strengths that complement those limits. That's why we can make a difference." Lurine stirred once more, her eyes meeting his. She shifted her colors through a gentle spectrum, calm and deliberate. Elias understood that in Valian terms this meant acknowledgement and trust. It was subtle, yet profound, a recognition that transcended language. Veles returned briefly, his presence quiet but commanding. "Dr. Harrington, the Council is aware of your actions. They are favorable. Lurine's condition is improving beyond expectations, and your approach has set a precedent. We will consider this carefully in future collaboration." Elias nodded. He knew that one human act, measured, patient, and precise, could ripple across an entire species, influencing not only medicine but diplomacy and trust. Actions mattered more than words, and this moment would be remembered, quietly but profoundly, throughout Valian society. As the day progressed, Elias continued observation, adjusting fluids and ensuring stability. Lurine responded well, moving gently, her colors shifting naturally as she acclimated to her environment. Recovery was no longer a fragile process but a steady progression, guided by careful, deliberate human skill. By late afternoon, Elias allowed himself a rare break. He stood by the viewport, staring out at the stars streaking past. The galaxy was vast, indifferent, and beautiful. Yet within it, one human hand had bridged a gap between species, saving life, earning trust, and demonstrating that humanity's value extended beyond its own world. He returned to Lurine's side, adjusting the stabilizers and observing her vitals. Her eyes met his once more, calm and luminous, a silent acknowledgement of everything that had been done. Elias understood the significance of this moment. Healing was more than skill. It was connection, trust, and courage. The medbay remained a quiet chamber of vigilance and care, a testament to what one human could achieve in the vast expanse of space. And for Elias Harrington, it was a reminder that even in the most delicate and unfamiliar situations, calm observation, precision, and courage could create ripples that extended far beyond the immediate moment, shaping futures and bridging worlds. The medbay was quiet, filled with the gentle hum of the ship's life support systems. Lurine's body lay still on the table, her skin glowing softly, silver with faint streaks of green, an unmistakable sign of health and recovery. Dr. Elias Harrington leaned over the monitors, checking the final set of readings. After nearly 3 days of continuous care, the crisis had passed, but vigilance remained essential. Soren stood nearby, her arms crossed as she watched Elias. "It feels like we've been at this forever," she whispered. "Do you ever get tired?" Elias shook his head. "No. Not really. When someone's life depends on you, fatigue becomes a background noise. You focus, you act, you observe. That's all that matters." Outside the medbay, the council emissaries had returned, this time not with tense faces but with measured curiosity. Their presence was less formal, more like witnesses to an ongoing miracle. Veles, the lead emissary, stood tall, his deep indigo tendrils swaying gently as he observed. "Dr. Harrington," he said, his voice calm but deliberate, "we have reviewed the ongoing monitoring reports. Lurine's recovery is remarkable. Your methods, human methods, have proven effective where our own caution might have delayed action." Elias nodded, keeping his attention on the patient. "She's stable, and her secondary systems have fully adjusted. Recovery is steady and there's no sign of relapse. With continued care, she will return to full health." Veles inclined his head. "We understand. The council is impressed. Your actions have not only saved a life, but they have also created an example of interspecies collaboration. This is rare, Dr. Harrington, very rare." Soren leaned toward Elias, whispering, "That's incredible. You're not just a doctor, you've become a bridge between humans and Valians." Elias allowed himself a faint smile, though his eyes never left the monitors. "A bridge is only valuable if it holds under pressure. Today it has. Tomorrow we must ensure it remains strong." Lurine stirred slightly, her eyes opening to reveal the soft glow of her awareness. Elias approached, careful not to startle her. She extended a tendril slowly toward him, a gesture of acknowledgement. He understood immediately. It was not merely gratitude. In Valian terms, it signaled recognition, trust, and respect. Veli stepped closer, observing the exchange. "She acknowledges your role in her survival. Such recognition is not lightly given among Valians." Elias knelt slightly, meeting her gaze. "I didn't do this alone," he said softly, glancing at Soren. "But I will continue to care for you until your body fully recovers. That is my promise." Lurine's colors shifted to a gentle gradient of silver and green, a sign of calm and acceptance. Elias understood the significance. Trust had been solidified. The fragile bridge he had built over the past days had become a tangible connection. The council emissaries withdrew, leaving Elias and Soren alone with the patient. The medbay lights dimmed slightly, simulating a day-night cycle that would help Lurine's body adjust naturally. Elias adjusted the final stabilizers, ensuring her internal systems continued to flow smoothly. Soren watched in awe. "Doctor, I've never seen anything like this. You saved her life, managed complications, and kept her calm through it all. It's beyond impressive." Elias smiled faintly. "It's about observation and precision. Every move matters and every reaction counts. We act because hesitation could be fatal. That's human skill, and sometimes it's what other species need most." The ship's comm panel buzzed softly. A message from the council arrived, addressed to Elias. He opened it and read the words carefully. The message acknowledged his skill, commended his approach, and formally requested that human medics be allowed to assist in critical Valian procedures in the future. This was unprecedented. The approval represented not just trust, but a new chapter in human-Valian relations. Elias exhaled slowly, letting the weight of the moment settle. One human had saved a Valian life, controlled complications, and earned the confidence of an entire council. The act would ripple far beyond this medbay. It was proof that human courage and skill could shape events in ways politics or technology alone could not. As the day progressed, Lurine began to move gently on her own. Her tendrils shifted rhythmically, and her eyes followed Elias with curiosity and a quiet awareness. He observed her closely, noting her muscle coordination, nerve response, and circulatory stability. Every system functioned within optimal parameters. Soren quietly handed him a nutrient injector designed to provide supplemental sustenance for Valian recovery. Elias calibrated it carefully, administering the precise amount necessary to maintain balance without overwhelming her system. Lurine's body responded immediately, her skin glowing with renewed vitality. "Her recovery is remarkable," Soren whispered. "I never thought a human could integrate so seamlessly with Valian biology." Elias shook his head slightly. "It's not integration. It's observation, adaptation, and action. We don't replace their methods, we complement them. That's the key." By late afternoon, Lurine had fully regained strength. She lifted herself slightly, testing her movements, and then slowly adjusted to sit upright. Her colors shifted from silver to a subtle gold hue, indicating alertness and energy. Elias monitored her vitals, confirming that her heart-like rhythms and secondary systems were stable. Velis returned once more, accompanied by additional council members. Their presence was formal but less tense than before. "Dr. Harrington," Velis said, "your patient is fully stable. Her recovery exceeds expectations. You have not only demonstrated human capability, but you have also fostered trust. This is a milestone for our species' relations." Elias nodded respectfully. "I acted to save a life. Trust was built through careful action, not words. The results speak for themselves." Lurine extended a tendril slowly toward him again, this time brushing lightly against his hand. Elias remained still, understanding the gesture's full significance. In Valian culture, touch was a powerful symbol of recognition and connection. This simple act communicated gratitude, trust, and acceptance of humanity's role in her recovery. Soren watched, amazed. "Doctor, she's connecting with you. Not just acknowledging you, but forming a bond. This is history in the making." Elias exhaled quietly. "Trust and connection are fragile. We have achieved them here, but maintaining them will require continued care, respect, and understanding. Actions build bridges, but only patience keeps them standing." The council members spoke quietly among themselves, clearly impressed. Velis finally addressed Elias again. "Doctor, your methods will be documented and shared. Your approach may serve as a model for future collaboration. The Council is considering expanding human involvement in Valian medical care." Elias remained calm, though pride stirred quietly within him. The acknowledgement was significant, but it was not the goal. The true reward was Lurine's recovery and the trust she had placed in him. That trust had been earned through steady hands, careful observation, and courage under pressure. As evening approached, the medbay lights dimmed to a soft, natural glow. Lurine moved easily now, adjusting to the rhythm of her recovery. Elias stood back, observing her, and allowed himself a moment of reflection. Humanity had proven itself not only capable, but also valuable in a galaxy that often underestimated its abilities. One human hand had saved a life, earned trust, and created connections that might last generations. Soren leaned close. "Doctor, do you think this changes things between humans and Valians?" Elias considered her question carefully. "It changes the potential. Trust and collaboration are fragile, but today we proved they are possible. One life, carefully saved, can open doors that years of negotiation might not." Lurine's eyes met his again, her colors shifting in a soft, deliberate pattern that indicated awareness, calm, and connection. Elias knew that in her terms, this was more profound than any words or promises. Actions had spoken, and they had been understood. Velis and the council emissaries stepped back, signaling the conclusion of their formal observation. Elias turned to Soren and said, "We continue monitoring tonight, but for the first time, I feel confident. Her systems are fully responsive and her recovery is progressing without complications." Soren smiled faintly. "It's been a long few days, Doctor, but you did it. You saved her and you earned something even more valuable, trust." Elias nodded. "Trust is fragile." but it can endure when built with skill, care, and courage. We've done more than save a life. We've built a bridge that may last for generations. As the stars streaked past the ship's viewport, Elia stood silently, reflecting on the magnitude of the events. A human had acted where hesitation might have prevailed. A human had observed, adapted, and saved. And in doing so, humanity had proven its value in ways that transcended politics, technology, and even language. Lurine shifted slightly, her tendrils brushing lightly against the stabilizers, a silent acknowledgement of the human who had saved her. Elias met her gaze, understanding the full weight of the moment. It was quiet, subtle, yet profound. In the vast emptiness of space, one human hand had made a difference that could resonate across species. One act of courage, precision, and care had not only saved a life, but had also forged a connection that might define the future of human-Valian relations. Elias Harrington allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and often indifferent, but within it, human skill and courage had created something meaningful. And that, he knew, was the true measure of humanity's place among the stars. The medbay remained a sanctuary of calm and observation, filled with subtle hums of machinery, soft light, and the quiet trust between species. Outside, the galaxy moved relentlessly onward, but inside, a single life had been preserved, trust had been earned, and the value of one human hand had been proven. And for Dr. Elias Harrington, that was enough. She had a clot in a delicate place. Only a human medic could treat her.